Good evening, everybody. This is the trade recap for October 2nd, Thursday, 2025. How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are having a great day, a great week, great start to the month of October. This is my trade recap where I review all the potential trades based on my system, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the thought process behind it. And if there was anything we could have done differently to improve. This is essentially the same as reviewing tape in professional sports. You're looking back and you're seeing what you could have done better to improve your game. With that being said, this is the micro Nasdaq futures MNQ 800 tick chart. And as you could see prior to today's market open at 9:30 Eastern, we made brand new all-time highs all the way up here. And I did comment in the stream earlier today that when you are in all-time highs, it's a little bit challenging because you're navigating in uncharted territory. And so with that being said, there's no targets to go after, and it could be a little confusing with the price action. So I believe, yeah, let's start here. This is right before 9:30 open. I'm gonna go ahead and put my trend lines real quick. And then see. This was a bearish trigger, but it stopped out. And then this becomes the bearish trigger right here as market is opening. So let's go ahead and see how the market opened today, and we'll kind of go from there. We'll track which trades we took and what our win rate was and how many points we captured. Okay, just making some notes here. All right, let's see what happens. So market opens, boom, we hit target. I use this pink line here as my runner that I'm keeping track of if we were in this trade. And then this is a standard deviation level off of VWAP. This is a standard deviation level off of VWAP. VWAP is all the way down there, which I believe I commented earlier this morning that the game plan was we were probably going to retest VWAP or go all the way down and close the gap, which I did have marked earlier around this area. It's incorrectly marked, but it's around here. It's about this zone. So that area, and let me mark 1700 close real quick. There we go. So these two lines are the 1600 and 1700 close Eastern time, and that's when the markets closed the prior day. And I was commenting that we could potentially be going down to close the gap. Markets hate gaps and they like to fill the gaps. So let's keep track of this trade. I didn't take it right out of the open. It's really tough to take a trade out of the open. Anything can happen right at market open, so I typically skip it. But we kept going here, and then boom, the runner just got taken out right there. And simultaneously, this was also a bullish trigger bounce off of standard deviation, which we couldn't have taken anyway because this runner was still running. But that trade worked. And now you are getting a bearish trigger, right? A bearish signal candle right here, but we have standard deviation right there, so I can't take it. And then boom, you get that bounce up right there off of standard deviation. Um, a golden ruler did move down to here, which also means that this bounce is also a trigger to go higher, but we have potential resistance overhead. And you could see it was very choppy this morning. It didn't hit its target, but this does move the golden ruler down here. Then this candle closes below it. This becomes the bearish Signal. We couldn't take that either. Um, but I'm keeping track of the trades that do trigger, whether or not we take them for whatever reasons, according to our rules, we still track them. So this hit target. Um, the runner is still running, and the runner just got taken out right there. So now we have this upward trend line, and this triggered lower here, but we couldn't have taken it because the trigger happened um, around the trend line. But this did end up working. Runner's been taken out. So now this bearish setup here is going to be a signal to go lower. We also move our golden ruler. Let's move our runner to the top here for now. Okay. So if we get a trigger lower, this is going to be a trade we take lower. We did. So this is viable trade, and it worked. We captured here about 8 points, but typically I take a point off, plus or minus entering and a little bit above the green area anyway. So let's just say this was 7 points that we captured here at 934. And then we keep track of the runner. Runner's taken out right there. We can draw this upward trend line. Let's get the runner out of the way. Now we're waiting for us to get into a zone. It got into an EMA right there and this downward trend line. This is a trigger lower, but we have this trend line and this bigger trend line that I had drawn from overnight session. So even though this is a trigger lower, I'm skipping this trigger here. There you go. It did work, but just did not follow my rules. So I skipped this one. And then golden ruler moves down to here, which deletes this line. This becomes a bigger trend line now. And then the runner is still running. So let's track that for a second. You can delete this, can delete that. Let's not delete that. That's still valid. Okay. Runner still running. We're coming, we're approaching 100 and VWAP, and the sellers were so strong this morning that there was no bounce in this area where typically there would be one. Just kept going lower until finally the runner stopped out right there. And we have this trend line. So now we wait. This would be a bearish signal to go south, but we have a trend line there. It did trigger and it did work, but again, my rules did not follow my rules, that is. All right, so golden ruler now actually moved to right at 100. We'll just put it right there. And there was a very small bullish trigger that worked here. Let's go ahead and delete this line. It's irrelevant now. And then the runner got stopped out. Still supporting this upward trend line here. We also got this double top. Then we have this bearish signal to go down. But we will take this one. And this one was about almost 10 and a quarter points. We'll say 9 points for this one. And we'll keep track of the runner. Runner's right here. Golden ruler moves down. Draw this trend line like this. And then this went above it. So now our trend line looks like that. And let's see if it kept going. Runner did keep going. And then finally, I believe the runner is going to be taken out right there. This triggers up. This triggered up, but we have the EMA in the way and the runner was still running. So we would have passed on this one. It basically almost worked. You missed the target by a tick. I wouldn't have taken it. So I'm not counting it anyway. Now you're getting this bearish signal, but you can't. One of my rules is don't take the trade that stopped you out. And this measured move is beyond the standard deviation here. So not taking this trade either. Hold on, I went too fast. Here we go. It did end up working, but again, it didn't follow my rules. And that's really something that I've been working on very hard. Just take trades that follow all of your rules, not some of your rules, not some of the time, because I'm really trying to let my edge play out and look for only A plus setups. And by following my rules, it helps me to be consistent. Runner is still running. And then finally, actually, no, the runner, I believe, is still running. This is a bullish trigger up, bounce off of the 50 level, but you have standard deviation in a way, and the runner is technically still running. But I will mark this. Again, not taking it, but marking it. Runner's taken out. This worked. And now we keep track of the runner going to the upside, which right now it's at right there below this candle. And now this was a trigger lower, close below standard deviation, also retest of the EMA. This is the 21 EMA, by the way. But again, I couldn't take it because we still had the runner running, we had the 50 level, and we had this upward trend line. So those were all things that would have normally kept me from taking this trade. So I'm not counting this trade either. Runner is now right here at break even. Golden ruler moves down again. And now this is a trigger to go to the upside. But again, we close below standard deviation. We have an EMA here, and we have this other trend line, which I could delete, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant at this point, but you could draw this bigger trend line. If we zoom out, actually, you probably want to start connecting some of these zones. So start connecting the swings. So here's two swings right there. It could potentially act as resistance in the future. Um, anyway, we're in the middle of this trade. It retested the EMA and failed. And then this also is a bearish trigger, but you were still in that bullish trade and it did work. The bearish trade did, the bullish trade stopped out. Okay, now we're just keeping track of a runner. We are moving the golden ruler, which means this is a signal to go north. But again, we still had the runner running at the time before this took it out. We have 50 as a resistance level, the EMA, and potentially the standard deviation. But I believe it, yeah, it ended up hitting its target, but there were a lot of potential obstacles that would have gotten in its way, hence why I did not take the trade. This is a bearish signal. Retest of the standard deviation, retest of VWAP, not VWAP, the EMA, retest of 50, failure at all those three levels, and then boom, it worked. Um, I don't think I would have taken this one anyway because we were still in this bullish trade. That's not actually no, the bullish trade stopped out. No, this is actually a viable. No, this isn't a viable trade. It signaled up here. I still had this trend line there. That's why I skipped this one. Otherwise, I would have taken it. And it was a beautiful trade, but not following all my rules. So I guess I couldn't call it that beautiful if it didn't follow my rules, right? Okay, so runner has been taken out right here by this candle. And now we have this funky looking candle right there, but we also have this upward trend line. So this would be a signal to go south, but we have the trend line in the way, so we can't take it. And you could see, boom, it reversed. Um, this reversal also means that this candle is a signal to go up. And we closed above the golden ruler, so this comes down, but this is the trade that stopped out this trade. So I cannot take this trade to the upside. That's one reason. Another reason is we have a bunch of other trend lines that are could potentially act as resistance for our measured move. So this one's also a pass. Let's see what happens. It does end up working, but didn't follow my rules. So that being said, we're going to keep moving, keep track of the runner, which right now is at break even. The runner moves up here. Boom, runner gets taken out. We do have this trend line here. And now we have that trend line as well. All right, so we're getting a bounce off of this VWAP level. Not VWAP, sorry, the 21 EMA. And so this is a signal to go up, but we have these two trend lines that could get in the way. So it didn't trigger anyway. But if it did, I wouldn't have taken it because of potential resistance right here. But now this signal tells a different story. This signal candle breaks through this trend line, and that trend line. So we can go ahead and take this if it signaled up. And it did. And I believe this was a stop loss. So this was our first stop loss. Actually, hold on. Let me review. That's actually not our signal. Let me go back. This was our actual signal candle. We would have skipped it because of that bigger trend line up there. And this actually did end up hitting target. Sorry. This was a bounce off of the 21 EMA. So it did hit target. It came back down. Take out the runner. Now we have a new downward trend line. We also have a new upward trend line like this. Yeah, this is starting to sound familiar. So our golden ruler is still down here. This is a bearish signal, but we have golden ruler in the way, 50 in the way, standard deviation in the way. I think you guys are getting it. We're going to skip it if it triggers to the downside. So it does trigger to the downside. It does end up working. It goes through all the levels of support. You move golden ruler up, move the runner down. The runner kept going. I think the sellers really got aggressive here. I mean, sometimes it sucks looking at a mediocre setup that you wouldn't normally take end up running away from you. And don't get me wrong, there's a real sense of FOMO that you have to learn to deal with. And if you have a lot of FOMO, which I used to, I yeah, there's a lot of FOMO which I used to. I would end up taking mediocre setups, and then I would end up losing a lot more aware of areas I shouldn't be taking it. So I've learned to just say, you know what? If a trade ends up working and it was mediocre, so be it. It's just not following my rules. And I think that's one of the biggest areas of growth for me this past year, is to say that I could do that now. And now this dotted black line, I remember this price action was really strange around here because this was the prior all-time high. So I felt really, it felt really weird to not take this bearish signal. It happened so fast. And by the time I tried to think about getting in, it ended up just going higher and higher and higher. And I said, you know what? I don't feel comfortable taking this. And I decided to actually pass on this trade. Even though it followed all of my rules, I think it's because we were in this zone where the prior all-time high was at. And so you're going to see that it tried to work and then I would have normally the way I would have normally traded this, as you can see the trigger is here. It pulled back beyond 50%. I usually add to my position and then I get out a huge chunk of my position, like 2/3 off of the 150. So I still get that one-to-one move here. And then you're going to see that it's not going to work. So going down to the 200. I didn't take this trade. I'm not going to count this trade, but if I would have taken that trade, that's how I would have managed it. It would have still been a winner for me, even though it turned to be a loser. The golden ruler did move down, which means this was our downward trend line here, which then means this was your signal candle to go up. But you, again, we're in this bearish trade and the golden ruler was there. The golden ruler is no longer there, so we move it to the bottom. And you just wait. This trade did end up working, but we wouldn't have been able to take that trade anyway because we were in that bearish trade. Even though I personally was not in that trade, I was still tracking it. Okay, so now we're keeping track of a runner. And there's the runner being taken out. This is a bearish signal to come down. And this did end up working, but I don't know if I would have taken this one because we still had, I mean, the runner did get taken out. It was a fresh takeout. And I've re noticed recently in the last few trading days that every time we have a setup like this, where your signal candle is the candle that ends up breaking the runner, it hasn't worked. So I've stopped taking those trades. I could be very wrong here. Obviously, this one was viable and it did end up working, but we're not going to count this one either. So let's keep moving. Okay, runner is still running. We do have a new downward trend line. Runner is now here. Okay, runner moves down. We retested the golden ruler. We've now closed below it. Runner also moves down to prior all-time highs. And I believe it went down, then went up. So now the runner has been taken out. And we have a new upward trend line. This is our signal candle to go up, but two reasons why you wouldn't take it. EMA and this prior all-time high could now act as resistance because before it acted as support. Didn't matter. The bulls were very strong in on this move. Again, I didn't take it, but just telling you the reasons why I didn't take it. And now we have a lower high, which we will mark right here. This is a lower high from this one. This is a signal to go down, but we have a trend line and we have, again, this prior all-time highs. So didn't take this one. I believe this might be a stop loss. Yep. So typically this is why I follow all my rules. I'm looking for A plus setups. This is a signal to go up, but we have all this resistance overhead. So again, I'm not taking it. It almost worked. It did work. Okay. Just updating some trend lines here. Keeping track of the runner, which at this point was right there. And then it's right here. Yep. Made a new high there. This is a signal to go bearish, but again, the runner was still running. So this did end up working for about 5 points. I didn't take it. And then now you have a runner going down. Golden ruler moves up. Okay, runner still running. And then back to the prior all-time highs. Runner is still running to the downside. Okay, runner just got taken out, by the way, right there. So this would be a bearish signal to come down. Problem is The measured move is beyond the 1600 close, and 1600 close could act as support. We also have this prior low here, so think if this triggered, I would skip it. It didn't end up triggering. But now you have this big bearish candle here. It didn't trigger. You have a double bottom. And now you have the reverse. You have this trigger to go up, but we have this EMA in the way. It did end up working. The runner got taken out right there. Now this becomes a signal to go up. And we took it. This was, let's see, so it's about 6 points. Let's say we captured 5 points here at 958. We have this upward trend line now. We do have a runner. Okay. Golden ruler moves down. Runner gets taken out right there. And I believe this triggered lower, but we have all this support below us, so we can't really take this to the downside. It does end up working though. And then the runner was right there, got taken out by this candle. This is going to be a signal to go up, but we have this trend line in the way. It does end up working. Now our runner is right here. We made a new high, so our golden ruler moves up as well. This was a bearish trigger, but EMA is in the way, so we could not take it. And now this is the trade that stopped out this trade, so you can't take this one bullish. I believe it stopped out here. And now this trade stopped out this trade, so we can't take that signal bearish. We also have 50 below us anyway, so we couldn't take this one. It didn't trigger, but this one is going to be the signal now. Or, or I'm sorry, yeah, this one's going to be the signal. It didn't end up working. We wouldn't have taken it anyway because of the 50 level. Now this is our signal to go up, but we have a trend line here, and also this is the candle that stopped this candle. So two reasons why we shouldn't take this. And you can see it almost hit target, and then it finally did. So here, it's really important to note that we prevented about 2 or 3 false positive trades, which is equally, if not more important than taking winning trades, because learning how to minimize losing trades is really just as important as learning how to maximize on your profitable setups as well. So Um, so the runner is running now. Again, we're not in this one. The golden ruler, however, moves up. Okay. Runner still running. Runner is out. We have this downward trend line, but if we get a trigger to go up, we have VWAP in the way, so we got to skip it. So you can see we got that trigger higher and immediate rejection near VWAP. Boom. We can't take this trade bearish because it stopped out this trade and we have the EMA in the way. But we'll go ahead and mark it. Did end up working though. Again, I'm telling you the reasons why I'm not taking a lot of these trades. It helps to cut down on the clutter as well because I used to overtrade and that was a big problem of mine. And now I'm just much more selective when it comes to which trades I am taking. And so establishing these set of rules have helped me tremendously. This is a trigger to go up here, but we still had the runner here and we have an EMA in the way. So it did end up working, but again, not the best setup. Now, it worked and then it stopped out, right? This is a signal to go up. Question is, do we have enough room to take it before VWAP? And the answer is yes. Fortunately, it was a stop loss. So this was our first stop loss of the day. We lost how many points here? 720. This is 8.5 points plus a point of loss. Let's just say we lost 10 points on this to be conservative. Yeah, that really stunk. But and then you again, you see this. This is the bearish signal go down, but it's a trade that stopped out this trade. Immediate reversal here. And so guess what? I can't take this to the upside either because this is the trade that stopped out this trade that stopped out this trade. But we will mark it. Also too big to take, I think, at this point. It's past VWAP. And there's your stop loss right there. And then here is your bearish signal to go south, but we were in the middle of this bullish trade. Did end up working bearish. I remember this being very frustrating. Price action. But if you stay calm, follow your rules, don't let your emotions dictate what you do, which is easier said than done, you can prevent a lot of losses. And remember, trading is a marathon. All right, so this is a stop of the runner right there, which means we draw this upward trend line here. Our golden ruler did hold. This was the high, lower, high, lower, high. This was the bearish signal and it worked, but again, I wouldn't have taken it golden ruler and the 50. All right, so the runner got stopped right there. Golden ruler moves to here. And now we have a bullish trigger right there, but we have the EMA in the way. So I'm not taking this one. Did end up working though. We also have a higher low situation. We're going to go ahead and mark that. Runner is still running. Uh, Boom, it gets taken out right there. Now we have the signal to go up, but we have this bigger trend line in the way. So it did trigger higher. I don't know if this one worked or not. I don't think it did. Yep. That's why we didn't take that one. Now you have this bearish signal, which we can't take because it stopped out the prior trade, and you have 50 in the way. There's a stop loss there. So again, these rules are there to help you prevent a lot of chop and getting in on a lot of these false triggers. Preventing getting in on false triggers, I should say. Now you're in this trade, but again, trend line, and you were in this trade, didn't work, or did it work? It did end up working, but I just sat on my hands at this point, waiting for a good setup. Okay, so let's see here. Runner's right here. The runner is now right there. And finally, the runner gets taken out right there near VWAP, near that macro trend line. And now we're just waiting for a good setup. This is a signal to go up, but we had all that resistance overhead. So we would skip taking this trade as well, but it did end up working. It's funny how sometimes you have all that resistance and it still ends up working. We can delete this. And now we are waiting for, okay, so the runner actually, the runner is break even, and now the runner is here. Runner gets taken out right there. Signal to go bearish, but we have all that support below us, so we can't take this one. This line and this line. It ends up working. Golden ruler moves to the top. And I believe the runner gets taken out right there. All right. Now we're getting a signal to go back up, but we have all that resistance overhead. And you could see almost immediate rejection. We can't take this candle because it stopped out this one. Did end up working though. Runner gets taken out. Golden ruler moves down. Just able to delete this line. We now have this trend line here. And now we have this trend line instead. Okay. This is a signal to go up, but we have the golden ruler anyway, so we have to skip this trade as well because the measured move is beyond where the golden ruler is. It did end up working, but again, it didn't follow my own rules. So, all right, we're okay. Let's see. Where's my golden ruler? There it is. Not my golden ruler, sorry, my runner. My runner's right here. We're testing VWAP. We're breaking through VWAP. And there is potentially a bearish signal to come back down, but we have support right here. And then you could see it triggered an immediate rejection. And now this trade is bullish signal to go up, but it was the trade that stopped out this one, so I can't take it. But there is the stop loss there. So you guys are starting to see my rules in action, why I don't take certain candles. Now this is a bearish trigger, but again, it stopped out this trade. And now you're getting this bullish trade within this bearish trade. Bullish trade ended up working. The bearish trade stopped out. And our runner is right here. Our runner is right there. We're getting a potential bearish signal, but we have support right underneath us. And it did end up working. Runner is running, and then it finally gets taken out right there. Double bottom here. Signal up here. It's just so close. Technically signaled up, but we were still underneath this trend line. Yeah, so I couldn't take this one. We'll go ahead and mark it, but I don't think yeah, it didn't work. So again, you're seeing the nuance of some of these rules. They may seem a little overkill at times, but they do work for me and they help me to stay very consistent. This is about an hour into the trading. I'll go ahead and stop my analysis right here. We were able to take 4 trades, 3 winners and 1 loser, for a 75% win rate. And then we captured 11 points in 1 hour, which may not sound like much, but that is $220 if you're trading 1 mini, which is not bad. I mean, it's an amazing hourly rate. What job do you know can pay you $220 an hour, right? Um, but that's it for my analysis. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, leave a comment. If you liked this video, please like, and if you like this content, please subscribe. Looking forward to engaging with you in the near future. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk real soon.